After the mass murders that have just taken place, and that's what I'm going to call them, uh, they just happen to use firearms to commit the mass murder. They could just as easily have used vehicles or trucks to run down people, like the person did in Houston last year. So what we have is mass murder taking place using a firearm. There's a lot of ignorant rhetoric about, well, do something, and the do something is do something about the availability of guns for these people to do that. Um, and it's a dilemma in some cases because the anti-gun people and everybody talks about, well, if you get a gun you need to be trained on it. Well, these people who happen to use guns to commit these murders were actually well trained. I mean, they trained with those firearms. So uh, up until the time they decided they were going to commit these murders, they were training with the tools they were going to use to do that. Uh, that is just the way it is. So I'm going to use a truck or a car, and I'm going to run down a bunch of people. I probably ought to want to be able to drive, or I want to fly a commercial airliner into a tall building. I probably want to go get trained on how to at least control direction and altitude as I do that. So yeah, these people will train on the tools that they want to use to commit these murders. But the focus of the anti-gun people is to ban, and they're calling these things assault weapons or assault rifles. And we need to stop saying that because they're just lying what they want to do. They want to remove almost all, if not all, firearms from civilians, period. Well, what does that mean? That means they want to remove the ability to rapidly fire bullets out of the firearm. Well, since the 1800s with lever action rifles, by the way, the Battle of the Little Bighorn was won because the Indians had lever action rifles and the U.S. cavalry did not. So a few Indians were able to pretty much slaughter the cavalry, since you know what happened at the Battle of the Little Bighorn, right? The Indians had superior firepower because a few of them could put down a lot of fire onto cavalry. And that's what happens when you have the ability to have repeating arms. That is, the ability for a firearm to fire multiple shots, one trigger pull or one action at a time out of the gun. And that's pretty much what we have in every firearm available today, with the exception of break action shotguns. That's where the double barrel, it breaks down. You take the rounds out and you put the more rounds in and you put it back up again. That's called break action. Everything else, from a revolver to a lever action, pump action shotgun, and semi automatic magazine fed uh, rifles, they're all repeating arms, and they all have the capability to put um, very lethal bullets out the barrel. So it doesn't matter. You're not the only way to stop uh, mass murder using repeating firearms is to remove all repeating firearms from availability. Uh, Logically, that would make sense. From a practical point of view and a legal point of view, that is a stupid idea. It will never happen. It will not happen. There certainly won't be any compliance. Joe Biden, Mr. Get a Shotgun guy, says on an interview um, the other night, well, bingo, we'll just confiscate your guns. Good luck with that. That's not going to happen. We'll have a buyback program. Good luck with that. In order to get, assuming it could be done, it would take $4 billion, billion, just to buy back the firearms, not including the cost to administer such a program. So that's not going to happen. The genie is out of the bottle. This is America. We are a gun culture. We have a Second Amendment that guarantees the right of a citizen, the people, to keep and bear arms. By the way, arms didn't mean guns. Arms mean anything that can be used in combat. Knives, bludgeons, nunchucks, whatever you can carry on you are arms for the people. For the people. Well regulated militia. The people constitute the militia. Therefore, in order to have a militia at all, which are the people, the right of the why is to make sure the people can be armed. The right is to make sure their ability to be armed is never infringed by government. Now, there are people that want to argue that. There are people who just don't like the idea of guns in the first place. There are people who say the only people that should have the ability to kill another human being would be police and military. Civilians should never have the ability to do that. If you are in other parts of the world, you end up with silly laws like offensive weapons laws in Canada and the UK and some other parts of the world. Those are really stupid. So this is America. Our culture says we have the right and should be armed. What does that mean? People who are going to do bad things have access to weapons that can do bad things in their hands. We need to get over this thing and stop saying do something. There's nothing to do unless you want to have a whole repeal the Second Amendment. Good luck with that. Ain't going to happen. Remove all semi-automatic or repeating arms from circulation. Not going to happen. Ban whatever. Ban semi-automatic weapons. Good luck with that. How are you going to get compliance? Because nobody is going to go door to door trying to confiscate them. So, well, how do you feel if in one of these mass murder situations, a loved one of yours was killed? Question 1. Is the murderer dead? Yes. Then I will grieve. How did the person get access? If they did it legally, there's nothing you can do. Nothing, really. That's constitutional. Because we have to be very careful that we don't get into punishing people for thought crime, for things we think they might do, because those people are out there. And in every case where there's been a mass murderer, whether it's a serial killer or one of these serial killer who's taken a long time to do things, which is more for sport almost, and then these mass murderers who have more the profile of a serial killer than a political terrorist. An event happened in their life, and they planned what they were going to do for at least a week. Most of the time, it was several months. And oh, by the way, and over half the time, they leaked that they were going to be doing something like this. So what's to be done? What's to be done? Can you, um, unless a person directly threatens someone, which is against the law, there's nothing to do. If a person takes an action that is illegal, then you can do something. We have laws about that today, you know. But because someone might dress weird, or they have a certain political affiliation, or they have a hatred for certain types of people on the planet, you cannot punish them for that, at least not in America anyway. You certainly can't take a constitutional right away from someone because you don't like how they think or you might be afraid of them. So to come back to these mass murderers, since we can't read minds, what's to do? In my world, and by the way, I live in a state, one of 5, that has never had a mass shooting. We have had mass, well, murder, but they were done with knives. Okay? So, what's to do? You pay attention to what's going on around you. If you see someone walking down the street with a long gun at the ready, that's probably a sign. If you walk around with your headphones on and you're not paying attention, right, you're not going to see anything until it's too late. So what's to do? What's to do? For every minute, let's take a mass shooting, for every minute that there's a delay in engaging the shooter, 5 people will die. That's the analysis that I've done. That's pretty much what you'll see. Between 3 and 5 people die for every minute that there's a delay. The average response time of law enforcement is 3 to 6 minutes. Do the math and you'll see what happens. So unless there's an armed person present to engage the shooter, right? And in every case, once a shooter is engaged, they stop what they're doing because now they are under fire. They are under fire. So whoever is there first and can take the shot to disrupt their focus, all you do is wait, right? And then for every minute, 5 people are going to die while waiting for some law enforcement to show up. If you live in a place where you can carry a firearm in public, do that. If you can do it concealed, more the better. Because you could be the one to stop the person. Now, there's more to be said, but I just had to get this out. As always, thanks for watching. Carry on.